Hi friends! Lately, I've been thinking a lot about cost per wear. Prioritizing a low cost per wear is a value I have definitely internalized. It's something I think about a lot while shopping for clothes. And in some ways, I found it really, really useful. It helps me rein in my impulse to buy things that are beautiful but not super wearable. And it's made me more willing to spend a little more on things I know will last and get a lot of wear in my wardrobe. But over time, I've also realized prioritizing cost per wear while shopping has ended up creating certain repeat issues in my wardrobe. It turns out this philosophy also has some shortcomings. So today, I want to discuss them. The problems that can arise from using cost per wear as a guiding principle from someone who has done it. Firstly, what is cost per wear? If you clicked on this video, you probably already know, but just in case, cost per wear is exactly what it sounds like. The cost of a clothing item divided by the number of times you've worn it. And it's often invoked as sort of a conscious consumption, mindful shopping consideration. People generally bring it up to say, hey, maybe you're looking at two sweaters and one is $30 and the other is $100. So you feel like the $30 sweater is the better choice financially. But if the $30 sweater is just okay, you really only see yourself wearing it like 3 times, well, the nicer $100 sweater is a better design, a better fabric, it will last longer, it will be more versatile in your wardrobe, so you'll end up wearing it like 20 plus times. That $100 sweater will actually have a lower cost per wear, therefore making it the wiser purchase. And this all seems pretty reasonable in this specific scenario. But often, real-life shopping scenarios aren't exactly quite like this. Firstly, this assumes you're able to afford the upfront cost for both options, and that you're able to accurately gauge in advance how many wears an item will get. And neither of those things is guaranteed in the first place. But let's assume for the sake of this video, those assumptions are true. Even then, there are still other factors and shopping situations where issues can arise, and prioritizing cost per wear can even end up having the opposite of its intended effect. This is the first issue with cost per wear I have noticed in my own shopping behaviors. Sometimes I actually end up using it to justify cheap, low-quality purchases. This may sound like, how is this possible? But let me explain. For me, this specifically applies to thrifting. I buy the majority of my clothes secondhand at just regular thrift stores. So the price point is quite low. It's less likely to be a $30 sweater versus a $100 sweater, and more likely to be a $3 sweater versus a $12 sweater. Or maybe I'm not deciding between two pieces at all. Maybe I've just come upon a $3 sweater. Because the upfront cost is so low, even if I don't really love the sweater that much, I'll find myself thinking, okay, well, if I only wear it 3 times, that alone will get the cost per wear under $1. So if I think I'll wear it even just 3 times, I should just get it. And for my wallet, a $3 sweater is not this big regret financially. But what is worth consuming and bringing into my wardrobe isn't just about what it costs financially. It also requires space to store, mental energy to style, time and energy to wash and maintain. I have to keep track of it. If I don't wear it, then I have to decide what to do with it. Having another option in my closet adds to my potential decision fatigue while getting dressed every day. All that for a sweater I only justified because I thought it was maybe good enough to wear 3 times. Sure, it's a low financial cost, the cost per wear is low, but it can definitely end up having other negative effects on my wardrobe and my style. Especially if I'm doing this all the time, constantly making thrift store purchasing decisions based on cost per wear, I could easily end up with a closet full of stuff I thought was just okay enough to wear a handful of times. And that's not what I want. That is not the ideal closet that's gonna feel great to wear, suit my lifestyle needs, and make me feel good every day when I'm getting dressed. In this way, cost per wear is a double-edged sword. It can give you clarity on which pricier items are truly worth it if you'll wear them constantly. But it can also easily justify very mediocre purchases just because they're cheap. Like I said, I personally have definitely done this. A specific example that comes to mind is this cardigan. Some of you may be disappointed to hear this, but I did thrift this in September, specifically because it was only $3. And I remember actually thinking to myself in the thrift store, well, I only have to wear it 3 times to make it worth it, so I'll just grab it. And guess what? I have only worn it 3 times since then in over 5 months. And I think the reason it was so cheap is that there are some threads that are falling apart. It also kind of sheds. And it's also just too big on me, and it has a zipper, which I don't love and I find tricky to style. I mean, I do like it. I think the Fair Isle is cute. Obviously, I chose to bring it home with me for a reason. I have worn it, and hopefully I'll continue to wear it more over time. But was it necessarily the most worthwhile addition to my wardrobe? I mean, Objectively, no. I literally just gave you a list of complaints about it, and I've only worn it 3 times in over 5 months. I also have this problem with taking on free secondhand stuff, like hand-me-downs or items from a clothing swap or something. Sometimes, if something is offered for free, I'm like, how can I say no? I have nothing to lose. Even if I never wear it a single time, the cost per wear is still 0. But I very often end up finding those pieces a little frustrating or stressful to deal with. They clutter my wardrobe, they clutter my mind when getting dressed, they make me feel guilty if they're just sitting there not being worn. Especially if I end up with a number of them in my possession at once, they can make navigating my whole wardrobe more frustrating and stressful. So this is all to say, sometimes even the lowest cost per wear possible, $0, still doesn't make something actually a good addition to your wardrobe. Because even if the financial cost is nothing, it can still cost you in space, time, and energy, and detract from the overall quality and pleasantness of your daily experience with your own wardrobe. The second issue I have noticed with cost per wear is that it assumes all experiences of wearing clothes are equal, and it doesn't take into account the quality of the wear. Not just the number of times you're wearing something, but how functional it is to wear and how much you enjoy wearing it. For example, I could thrift some pants for like $10 that aren't exactly what I want. Maybe they're not technically the ideal style I was looking for. Maybe they're not the perfect fit, but they're similar enough to what I want. They're comfy enough. They go with my wardrobe, and I'm in need of pants, so I just grab them. I might then end up wearing them a lot because I have them, they work fine, and needed pants, and these are pants. Even if they continue to annoy me in the way they look or the way they fit or the way they feel, I might just keep wearing them because they're what I have. I think a lot of us are out here just sort of settling for the clothes that are available to us or the clothes we already have. At least I find myself doing that. Then those thrifted pants might end up being worn 20 times in a year, giving them a super low cost per wear of 50 cents. But wearing them is not the most pleasurable experience. Meanwhile, if I bought like my dream pants for $200, they're the perfect fit, they're super functional, they look great with so many outfits. Even if I would absolutely love them and wear them twice as much as the thrifted pants, let's say 40 times in a year instead of 20, that's still $5 per wear for the nicer pants, which is way higher than 50 cents per wear for the thrifted pants. So if we use cost per wear as the guiding principle here, those $10 thrifted pants were still the better choice because they have a much lower cost per wear. But that reasoning, A, doesn't take into account the total number of wears, but also B, it doesn't take into account the enjoyment of the wearing experience as part of the value of those nicer, more expensive pants. Can you tell I have also been through this exact dilemma in real life? I'm honestly constantly wearing things that I kind of have issues with because I'm lazy and frugal. And once I have something, especially if it's comfortable, I'll just keep wearing it because it's convenient to throw on, even if I have consistent complaints about it. Perfect example, these pants. I thrifted these at some point, probably a handful of years ago now, because I wanted some green cargo pants. I found these at the thrift store, I'm sure for a very reasonable price. They were comfy and had the right general idea, so I got them. And to be fair, I have worn these a lot. According to my index, I have worn them 50 times since I started tracking my outfits about 2 years ago. And I had them well before that too. So these were probably a worthwhile addition in my wardrobe. I don't regret buying them. However, I have also had complaints about them the entire time. Firstly, they're just too big. They're great for lounging around the house, which I think is why I put them on so often, but they slip down constantly when I walk or put anything in the pockets. So they annoy me every time I try to actually wear them out of the house. Secondly, they're also just not really the shape or style I would prefer. They're sort of an awkward length, and they also just sort of collapse in on themselves in the legs, so they have no shape or structure. They just don't really feel stylish to me, and then they also don't always feel functional because, again, they're hard to wear out of the house because they're always falling down. And wearing them sometimes makes me feel a bit weird or awkward because I think they look and feel a bit weird and awkward. Meanwhile, I still have never bought any super nice, special, luxurious dream pants because I feel like I can never justify the price, even with considering cost per wear. Because I know even if I wear them a ton and get that cost per wear down pretty low, it will never beat the cost per wear of my thrift store pants. But I'm realizing if I have room in my budget, maybe the nicer dream pants would be worth it because I would enjoy wearing them so much more. I guess this is also kind of like asking if you were to rent out a pair of pants to wear just once. Would you rather wear the just okay pair for 50 cents or the really great pair for $5? Obviously, this depends on the circumstances. I'm sure sometimes the 50-cent pair would be fine, but sometimes the $5 might be worth it for some really great pants. Even if you're only wearing them once and that cost per wear is unaltered unalterably higher. Really, what it comes down to is quantity versus quality. We must consider not just the number of wears, but also how does it feel against your skin? How does it fit? Does it inhibit your daily functioning or enhance it? How does wearing it affect how you feel about yourself, your mood throughout the day, your mental state? Does it boost your confidence or lower it? Does it make you more comfortable or less comfortable? How does it feel to see yourself in that item? There are so many valuable questions to consider beyond just how much does it cost or what will the cost per wear be? Those are important questions too, obviously, but they're not the only factor. And similarly to how you can wear something all the time that you don't really love, you maybe have issues with, that you find annoying, you can also have pieces that you don't wear all that often, but that you still treasure dearly and get so much joy from. That kind of brings me to my third issue with cost per wear, which is that it fails to consider the value clothing can have beyond wearing it. This might sound like nonsense at first, but hear me out. I think the perfect garment to illustrate this is someone's wedding dress. Of course, not everyone is attached to keeping their dress afterwards, and that's fine, but many people are, and we generally collectively understand that a wedding dress is very symbolic and special and meaningful. And even if you're only wearing it for that one day, it's worth spending money on, and it's emotionally valuable to keep it stored and preserved and continue to own that item. To keep it in your possession, not for wearing as part of your wardrobe, but as a beautiful, special, emotionally meaningful belonging. Of course, this is a pretty strong, exceptional example. It's pretty rare for clothing to have that level of meaning and significance for the wearer. But I think the same idea and understanding can sometimes be applied to other clothing that maybe isn't quite on that level, but still has emotional resonance and value beyond its frequency of wear. I'm also thinking here of artisanal, handcrafted items you might buy from an artist, which can have value not only in their utility, but also as an art object. There is some innate value in the piece through the artistic vision that went into creating it, and also the labor that went into creating it. I'm not saying you should go out and buy artisanal jewelry you're never going to wear just because, but I am saying if you buy that sort of item and you're never going to get the cost per wear down to under $1, I think that can be okay. If it's not your most worn everyday jewelry item, but it's something special that brings you joy to have and that you wear sometimes, that can be okay because sometimes an item has sort of an innate value in the specialness of the item. I hope that makes sense. And also, maybe part of your enjoyment of that handcrafted jewelry as an art object is that it's displayed on your dresser. And maybe you don't wear it that often, but you get to enjoy looking at it and admiring it every day, just like you would with other art or decor in your home. Just because something can be worn or was intended to be worn doesn't mean its use or value to you has to be through wearing it. I have personally had beautiful bags or scarves that I didn't wear that often, but I've, draped the scarf over a surface or hung the bag on my wall, and using them as those decorative art objects is also worthwhile to me. Of course, I also really try to remember that not everything that's beautiful or special needs to be my possession, and prioritizing the value of simply owning something can get very consumerist and materialistic very quickly. But I also think it's worth acknowledging that there is value in having something beautiful and special in your possession, beyond just its value in number of wears. Whether it's as more of an art object or decor, or it has a really strong emotional resonance and significance to you, or the value is in the artistic vision and the labor that went into the piece. I mean, people own a lot of things that are special and meaningful to us, even if we don't use them that often, like a wedding dress, or Christmas tree ornaments, or other holiday decorations that you only bring out once a year, but they help you connect with this meaningful cultural event, or heirloom jewelry that's maybe kept in a safe, but it's special and you keep it because it belonged to your great-great-grandmother. Having possessions that you care about and that are valuable and meaningful to you is not inherently wrong or silly or shallow. Things carry meaning to people. Human life and culture around the world is so rich with symbolic projections onto belongings, and I think that's very significant and meaningful and valuable for us. The point is, of course, we don't want to be meaninglessly materialistic and just buy whatever we think is pretty or special that we're never going to use, especially if it's, mass-produced and it's unsustainable or exploitative in the process. I think being very mindful and intentional about what we think is worth taking in is great. Again, that's why I bought into cost per wear in the first place. But I also think it's very human to attach special meaning and significance to certain belongings. And it's okay to understand that as part of the value of a certain piece of clothing, even if you don't wear it a ton. Though I also think it's worth noting that a lot of those most significant items that I just mentioned are often gifts or passed down through family. They're not necessarily things you just go out and buy, which is part of what makes them so special. So maybe part of the lesson here is also to treasure the special things you already have. And hey, if you want to buy something special that might not get, 20 wears in the year, but you see value in its artistry and beauty, or maybe even the potential that it might be a future family heirloom, in moderation, I think that can still be worthwhile. All in all, I definitely still think cost per wear is worth considering, especially when buying new. And I will certainly continue to keep it in mind for my own shopping. But I think I will also be mindful not to let it become like the primary or most significant deciding factor for me. Ultimately, just because something will have a very low cost per wear doesn't mean it's worth bringing into your wardrobe, particularly if that low cost per wear is because the upfront cost is so low. And just because something will have a slightly higher cost per wear doesn't mean it's not worth bringing into your wardrobe. Sometimes the pricier but more comfortable, beautiful, special dream item just can't beat the cost per wear of the mediocre thrifted item. And that doesn't inherently mean it's not worth getting. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. If you have internalized the cost per wear paradigm as much as I have, or not so much, if this changed your perspective on it at all, please share. I would love to hear. Oh, and one quick note before I go. My February closet sale fundraiser for the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota is officially finished, and we ended up raising $1,400. Mind-blowing. We raised $700 through Depop sales and emailed donation receipts from people who didn't want to buy anything but still wanted to support. Amazing. Thank you so much to everyone who bought something or donated. And then, at the last minute, a very generous donor who wishes to remain anonymous offered to match our fundraising total and donated an additional $700, bringing us to $1,400, which is way more than I ever expected. Thank you so much to that donor who matched the total. And thank you so much to all of you who bought anything or donated anything. Everyone's generosity means so much to me, and because of all of you, we were able to donate $1,400 to the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota to support free legal representation for low-income immigrants and refugees. Also, this is so embarrassing, but somehow I got it in my head that it was the Immigration Law Center of Minnesota, and I kept saying that. I even wrote it in like some of my little thank you cards I sent you, like, thanks for supporting my fundraiser for the Immigration Law Center. It's the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. Someone did message me to clarify, like, are you talking about the Immigrant Law Center? And I was like, oh my God. Yes, I am. I'm so sorry. I'm very embarrassed, but to clarify, that's where the money's going. It's already been donated. And I don't know if YouTube is going to censor this, but fuck ICE. I love you all. Thank you so much. All right. That's all I got today. Thank you so much for watching. And if you leave a comment, watch another video, like maybe this one right here, and subscribe. I heard you will find your perfect magnificent dream pants at the thrift store, and then you'll never have to sacrifice comfort and functionality to get the thrift store price. You'll get it all in one, baby, and this video won't even be relevant to you.